Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be recapping our budget for the month of March. And as you guys know, if you've been following me, I do use the Budget by Paycheck Workbook, which includes a couple of different worksheets to help me take a look at my finances and review for the month. So starting with the debt payment plan for this month, which comes directly after the expense trackers. Not as much as I usually would have because we did pay off a significant amount of debt for this month, which happened to include our last paycheck, I think in February. So our debt payoff for this month included paying off a total of, or we paid off, or I should say $5,000, about $5,000 went towards paying off our debt, which included paying off 4 different credit cards. And that was in our very beginning budget or the very first budget for the month, which was on February 21st, which I did include in our March budget. So we paid off 4 cards, which totaled $4,353. So we were able to pay those off thanks to our tax refund as well and some money that we had saved up. So what we have left are 2 credit cards and 2 student loans. And then the balance for each one of these, I like to put every single month. I separate it out between credit cards and student loans. So credit cards we have left is for about $4,500. Student loan debt I still have is $7,572. And something that I also include in this worksheet as well is tracking our credit score. So I was really excited to see that I fell under the excellent group with my credit score. That's never happened to me before, so I was really excited about that. I also made a note this month that we did use, or my husband used, his Discover card, which was the very first card paid off earlier this year or at the beginning of the year. I did make a note of it, and when I went online to pay it off, I did notice that his credit line increased. It was, I believe, $1,100, and it increased dramatically to $9,000. Which helped increase his score as well. And I did make sure that when I was paying it off, I ended up deducting it from his personal allowance. So that's what I did with that. I just made a note of that here. And then down here, with the monthly debt progress, last month's total debt was $27,603, and this month's total debt balance is $22,093. Which we paid off about $5,500 worth. And then total debt monthly progress is about 12%. And then the beginning of our debt, which I count as of June 2018, we had $46,000 in debt. And now we have $22,093, which is about half of what we started with when we started our debt payoff journey. And I think I'm going to talk about it in another video about our plan to incorporate credit cards back into our budget, or not back in our budget, but to try to learn how to incorporate credit cards into our budget onto the next worksheet. It's called the monthly net worth tracker. And last month's net worth, we were at a negative $11,032. This month we are still at a negative $8,495. We are still at a negative because our total liabilities still exceeds our total assets. Our total assets right now is what we had in our checking account, our savings account. We do own both cars now. We don't make payments on these anymore. And this is the Kelley Blue Book value of the vehicles. And that's where I get this amount from. And that is that with this tracker. Moving on to, let me flip this over. I did write this down in pencil first because, knowing me, I tend to make mistakes and would have to probably go through and erase them. But it turns out that I actually didn't write the first time. I was only off $5. So with this month's Where Did My Money Go worksheet, I did make a note that I was tracking my expenses for 42 days, which was 3 pay periods. And as you guys know, if you've been following me, that I do budget bi-weekly, so every time my husband gets paid, which is every other week. And so our starting balance was $451, or I should say 461, because this includes what was in our checking account and cash at the beginning of the expense tracking, or the pay period, I guess. And then our incoming income was $22,476, and this is a combination of the 3 paychecks, our tax refund, and we also use money from our miscellaneous savings account to cover certain expenses for the month, which gave me a total of $17,153. And then our food budget for the month, which isn't really our typical because this is 3 paychecks versus 2 paychecks that I usually budget for. That's why it seems so high. And we did go over. What I forgot to do was highlight which ones I went over and under. But for food, we did go over by $109, which was about 5% of our income. And transportation, we were over as well from what I had originally budgeted, because we did end up taking out money from our miscellaneous savings to cover a maintenance expense for my Caliber. It's just been having issues, so we decided to finally buy a new battery for it, and we got a couple things checked and stuff as well. And then for household, we also went over $74. And where else? My husband was under budget, but he was off of work for quite a bit, and he usually only spends money when he's at work because he likes to eat out for his lunch. And then I did go over by about $25, $30 here. And then our kids budget we went over as well. Let me just take a look at the percentages here. So the biggest ones here that I see is our rents, which looks like it's a lot, but this was 2 months worth of rent. For this monthly budget, we paid for our March 1st rent and also April 1st rent, so that's why it seems so high. And then 29% of our income did also go to debt payoff, because we did pay off quite a bit of our debt. And then travel also, which I kind of am regretting because we don't know now if we're going to be able to go on our Hawaii trip this September. But we did purchase our flight and hotel like I think a week or 2 before the quarantine or something like that. We also paid for our dental bill as well, and an ER bill that we did get. And then down here at the bottom, I did do a calculation between, since we are budgeting every single dollar, or we are doing a zero-based budget, our total income minus total spent should equal out to 0. But in this case here, I was over, or not over, I just had a variance of $5, which were over $5, not under. So I need to figure out where that came from, or actually I'm not even going to figure out where it came from because it's $5. Maybe if it was like $100, I'll try to figure out where it went, but we are actually over money, not under, so I'm okay with that. And flipping over to the next side, where did my money go as far as debt and savings? And then here, 93% of our debt payoff went towards our consumer debt, and then 7% went to our student loans, and only $100 went into savings, which was from our auto pay. We do have $50 set up to auto transfer to our checking or to our savings account from our checking account every 23rd of the month. The last worksheet compares our spending from the previous month. So in February versus March, which is this past month. In February, our tracking period is 28 days. And then with March, again, it was 42 days. So of course, this side here is going to be higher. And I also did make a note here as well that some of our expenses in February were a little bit higher, because especially with the kids, because it was my son's 3rd birthday, and we did have a small little intimate party with just my husband's sister and his parents. And then we also covered my mom's flight, which we ended up canceling. We do have a credit for it though. And then we also got charged for our DirecTV, which we were told we weren't going to get charged for. However, we did get this refunded back to us, which I included in the April 3rd budget. Also, what I like to take note of here is our February income, 2 pay periods, and then our March income, which was 3 periods or 3 pay periods, and then our monthly income change from February to March was $10,723. And where it says here percentage of budget, it's actually a percentage of our income. So the percentages here, so like say in February, 7.69% of our food cost, or I'm saying that wrong, 7.69% of our income went to food. That's what I meant to say. And then it looks like the category with the highest percentage is our rent, of course, because it is the most expensive category on there. And as well as our debt, that's usually in the double-digit percentage. And then here on the right side is whether we went over or under, or the difference between February and March expenses. I just forgot to do my, I usually highlight whether I was under or over. And that is pretty much it for this budget recap video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one. Have a great day, guys. Bye.